Okay. Hi, guys. So today we're going to be talking about sheet music, reviewing some of the stuff we did last week, and I'm going to be covering some of the parts of that in English. Okay. So first, we're going to talk about how we count in English. Right. So everybody knows the numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we also have this other way of counting, which we talk about the position of things. So when you have things in a line, um, we call it first, right? So we can say number one. We can also say first, uh, and then for the two, we call that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay. So the other way we can abbreviate that is by taking the number and then putting in two letters behind it. And so you can see the ST from first, you just write it behind there. So when you see this one ST, you pronounce that first. And then this one with an ND in the back of it, just like ND over here, you would pronounce this second, just like this. Here, you take the RD that comes from the end there. We call this third, right? So it's a weird thing, right? We have numbers and letters mixed together, but we call this third. And then for the last ones, here we have a TH at the end. So we would call this fourth, fifth, and sixth. Okay. So usually use this when you have things in a line and you're counting them. Okay. So these aren't pure numbers. You're comparing two things together. You can't have a second all by itself. Second usually means that there's another one nearby, which is first. But you can have a number two all by itself, right? So this is about counting. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay. All right. And then we have this thing called a musical staff. So this group of 5 lines, 5 black lines, which go across. And we count those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Right. So this is the 5th line. So the black things we call lines, and the white area in between, we call that the spaces. Okay, and we count those first, second, third, fourth space. Okay. And then when you have the treble clef, so we have this little drawing up here, which tells us which clef we're looking at, right? What tells us what part of the musical scale we're looking at. And sometimes it's called the G clef because this is a big spiral, which is centered around this line. And this line corresponds with the G, right? So this note, which is on this line, is called the G. So this is called the G clef sometimes. Like that. Okay. And you'll notice that you have this C, which is one line below, and we call it we call this middle C. And on this imaginary line over here, we call that the ledger. Okay. And so we have these, sometimes we have these notes numbered, and sometimes this can change depending on the instrument. But more formal, we have the note name. And the note name is the same no matter what instrument you're playing. And we call it C, D, E, F, G. And then at the end of G, we go back to the beginning of the alphabet, A, B, C. Where this is middle C, this is middle C. This C up here, we call that treble C. Right? So it's one octave above. So this distance is an octave. So we call it, so this is a higher C than this. This is treble C, and this is middle C. Okay. And then the other name we have for notes comes down here. We call this do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Right. And this we call it the solfege. Solfege. And so this is actually an Italian name. and I'll talk about it a little bit later about where the name came from and why we call the notes this way. Okay. And so the notes that are on the line, we call those line notes, and that's E, G, B, D, F. And the ones that are centered between the lines, we call it the space notes. And this one's easy to remember. F-A-C-E. This is the face notes. Okay, face notes. Okay, and then let's talk about solfege. So that came from a song which is popular about 1,000 years ago, and it was a song about Saint John the Baptist. John the Baptist is a guy who was in the Bible. He had a very famous cousin named Jesus. The second part of the Bible is all about him. And so this was a very popular song, and there's a musician who took the first word of every line in this music, which happened to be in a different note. He said ut for middle C, re for D, mi, fa, sol, la, and you notice that that's the highest notes that's on here, so it doesn't go any higher than that. And so eventually they changed that. Instead of ut, they said that doesn't sound right, and so later it became do, and became do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. And so sometimes this is also changed to a T, T-I, but both are correct. And sometimes the sol becomes just S-O, but both are correct. So just a matter of style, whether you want to use so or sol or C or T, kind of the same thing. All right. And so they took the name, it's a funny name, right? Solfege. So this isn't named after anybody. They just took sol from little G, and then they took fa. So for a while they're calling it fe. So so basically the GF is sol fa, solfege. Okay, and so that's where they came up with this name, solfege. Okay, and so that's where do re mi came from. Okay. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Just a review of last week, and hope you guys are doing well at home. And we'll come up with more stuff next week, and we'll put it up online, just like everything else. All right. See you guys soon. Bye.